What really happened in Penacony? Since our trailblazing journey has led us to the land of dreams, we have witnessed tons of twists and turns throughout the story. The once fabled land of luxurious vacations is riddled with mystery and a dark past. Let's discuss everything that has really happened in Penacony and uncover the secrets that lie within. Here is your spoiler warning if you haven't played the story, because as we continue on through this lore, we will be going through the events of 2.0 all the way to 2.3, and perhaps even glimpse of what to expect in future patches. Grab yourself some popcorn and let's get started. The first thing we need to do is answer the question, what exactly is Penacony? The Land of the Dreams exists in the Azdana star system and is mainly ruled and ran by the family. This family is a vast group of individuals who follow Chipe the Harmony. Penacony is a vastly popular vacation spot where celebrities and interstellar travelers alike visit to partake in lavish adventures. Amongst all of the tourist attractions that Penacony offers, perhaps the main calling card is the various dream pools that residents can enter. This dream pool will transport the user to a realm of dreams where everything their heart desires can come true. Between the residents of Penacony, not much is known about that dark and mysterious past. For better or for worse, the family has total reign over any incidents that have occurred and controls almost every aspect of this dreamscape adventure. But how did Penacony become this sparkling avenue of prosperity that is seen today? Well, for that answer, we'll have to travel back in time to when things weren't so bright on the planet. 1,000 years ago, the Interastral Peace Corporation, the IPC, owned this barren, desolate world of Penacony and used it as a prison. In order to reach this IPC-controlled prison, a long, horrid journey lied ahead of these exiled prisoners. Frequent, painstaking labor was in store, consistently exposing these individuals to memoria. Eventually, as this labor continued, the prisoners found themselves entering a shared dream world with one goal, one desire in mind: freedom. This all changed when the Cancer of All Worlds phenomenon occurred. That's right, the Stellaron. Mainly, after this event, a power struggle broke out, although currently there isn't much information, or it's very unreliable as to what fully transpired. At the end of the struggle, the family reigned supreme, taking control of the dreamscape. This is what caused Penacony to become the lavish cosmic resort that it is today. Before we dive into the full events that have transpired since our favorite Astral Express crew has entered, we first need to understand who or what the family is exactly. For this, we need to first look at they who follow the path of the harmony. The virtues of harmony, and specifically the Aeon Chipe, are that the universe will eventually become extremely close, in unison, through unity and joy. A harmonious home with no worries. Basically, Hakuna Matata. Who knew that Timon and Pumbaa were actually followers of the Harmony as well? Anyway, followers of Chipe and the Harmony formed what is known as the family. While all of these followers are not directly related to one another and share vastly different backgrounds and identities, they remain unified under the guise of these principles. The family will also sway others to join their song, to embrace Chipe with them, and together they will rejoice whenever new worlds accept Chipe's offering. For the sake of our story though, the family is mainly going to refer to a few of Chipe's followers in Penacony, mostly Sunday and Robin, although we will meet more as our trailblazing journey continues. Now it is time for the Path of the Trailblaze, the Nameless, the Astral Express crew, to make their way to the Land of Dreams. Prior to the warp jump that the Astral Express needs to make, we decide to have a team meeting regarding Penacony. Our lovable conductor Pom Pom mentions three distinct things. First, there is an extremely high level of memoria scattered around Penacony, and we might feel dizzy or hallucinate if you're not used to the sensation. Secondly, he recalls that this is the first time that the Harmony family has ever extended an invitation to outside guests. Lastly, Pom Pom wants us to search for three nameless who previously got off of the Express at Penacony. Tiernan, Legwork, and Rosalina. I'm sure this isn't the last we've heard of those names. After this meeting concludes, it's time for the jump. During the warp to Penacony, we wake up in one of these dreamscapes, albeit not known to us at the time yet. We meet a character in this unfamiliar location known as Acheron, the Galaxy Ranger. As a brief side note, the Galaxy Rangers are a group following Lon the Hunt. This Acheron asks us a bunch of mysterious questions, and we see a suspicious red text. She also helps us traverse the area. We learn a few things about this dream world, like how we're able to walk up walls. Anyway, after we wake up from this mysterious dream, we have now arrived in Penacony. In true Trailblaze fashion, the first thing we do is seemingly get in some inadvertent trouble. It seems that us as the Trailblazer weren't invited. Rude! Luckily for us, a handsomely dressed IPC member so happens to help us out here. Not only this, but Sunday himself shows up to remedy the situation, and we get to meet a famous singer, Robin. After this little fiasco, we chat with the rest of the crew and head our different ways to our rooms. Although we do get insight to a quick conversation between Mom and Dad, aka Himiko and Welt. Together, they're a little skeptical of the invite we received, as well as Robin's voice not sounding too well. The family's esteemed guests are cordially invited to Penacony to participate in our grand celebration. And now here's the part that they're suspicious of. Witness the impossible in the realm of dreams, find the legacy of the Watchmaker, father of Penacony, and thus answer to the question, why does life slumber? In fact, Himiko and Welt think that the family might not have even sent the invites to begin with. Already quite the mystery, and we just started on our journey. After this confusing scene, we see Aventurine waiting for us in our room. He reveals that he wants our help retrieving some things that belong to the IPC and promises us blessings of the preservation's protection. He seems like a really nice guy, I trust him. But then, Acheron seemingly gets lost as Aventurine is taking his leave. Followed by another series of questions and mysterious red text from Acheron, we show her back to her room, and we are finally ready to enter the dreamscape. As we enter this dream, we hear shouting in the name of Mikhail, Mikhail! Although I'm sure that's a name that won't possibly come up later in the story. The bellboy of the Reverie Hotel, Misha, leads us to our first destination in the dream, the Golden Hour. After the hallucinations and dizziness die down, and we get more used to the new atmosphere, we see a mysterious girl being surrounded by some goons. In the name of the galactic baseballer, we cannot ignore this indecency. We easily take care of these goons, and a new gruff figure enters the picture by the name of Gallagher. From our conversation, we know that there is a stowaway somewhere in the land of dreams. The scruff man takes his leave, and the newly acquainted Firefly decides to be our guide, showing us around the popular hotspots of this new area. Of course, all good things have to come to an end because we end up seeing Sampo. This filthy rat of a character says he's going to show us some adult side of things. Through his activities, we get our first look at Hanu's adventure. Insert more cool grunt noises here. We end up finding some items for Sampo and entering his dreamscape bubble with the help of Dr. Edward. And this might possibly be the oddest thing we have ever witnessed in Honkai Star Rail thus far. I'll save that for you guys in your playthrough. Let's skip ahead a little bit. After these shenanigans, we meet up with Firefly again, who says she is the stowaway. Wow, we could have never guessed that. But she asks us to follow her to a secret base. Ooh. On the way there though, we meet a new character, quite possibly one of the more fun ones in Penacony. Forgive me because I'm kinda sick, but we have to do the Clocky impression. Tick-tock, it's Clocky! Anyway, for some reason, only the Trailblazer can see Clocky, and he asks us for our help to save Misha. With this, we're introduced to Clockwork, a mechanic that can legitimately change people's emotions. Yeah, I'm sure this is not going to be used for evil in any of the upcoming adventures. But now it's time for us to get a little sad, because once we reach Firefly's secret base, she reveals that she has a chronic sickness named Entropy Loss Syndrome. It gets worse because this syndrome is where she will slowly fade away from this world and nobody will notice. Yikes. That's not very luxurious vacation-y. She states that this is why she wants to be in the dream, freedom, and living life normally. With one more reveal, Firefly also states that she is after the Watchmaker's legacy, and she has a hidden agenda where she can't tell us anything else. Still, we take a cute little picture together, and now we're ready to head back to the Golden Hour to prepare an exit from the dream. Until, of course, the stupid rat shows up again. Sampo is extremely disappointed for us not heeding his warning about Firefly. Honestly, what's his beef? Well, it turns out that this isn't actually Sampo, and we get knocked out by none other than a different masked fool, Sparkle. She sends us to the real dreamscape, and we see those words screaming for Mikhail again. We're split up from Firefly, and we have a little bit of trek to go to our destination. Until we reach our first boss of Penacony, the Memory Zone meme called Something Unto Death. We fight this beast off, but the enemy almost snatches and impales our friend Firefly. Luckily, a certain mommy figure saves us right on time. She creates an opening for us to exit the dreamscape and greets us immediately on the other side. We now don't know where Firefly is again, and Black Swan tells us of this PRIMAL Dreamscape we just visited. She also reveals that the entire dreamscape of Penacony, known for its luxurious vacation, is sorta sinking back to this original state. Yikes. As if this wasn't enough characters in the fray already, Silver Wolf sends us some hacking code that lets us directly enter the reverie in the family's dreamscape. We re-enter and end up meeting with Acheron again. We continually search for Firefly and notice this memoria indicating that she is apparently running away from something. After a short while, we finally catch up with her. Just as our reunion is finally at hand, it seems that nothing could go wrong and everything is right in the world again. Until the Memory Zone meme we just fought snatches Firefly up and impales her right in front of our very eyes. Lovely. After being comforted from this terrible sight, the distraught Trailblazer continues to try and re-exit the dreamscape, only to see a bunch of burnt enemy corpses. That's suspicious. And there he is at the end of the path, the Stellaron hunter known as Sam. After a great battle, Black Swan ends up kicking us out of the area as Acheron is holding Sam off. As if this wasn't strange enough, we are now face to face with Aventurine. Apparently, Black Swan tricked us and led us straight to him, although he claims that Black Swan saved us from Acheron, the Galaxy Ranger who was also in attendance. Aventurine gives us this backstory of how Duke Inferno Ifrit has perished before being able to attend with their invite to Penacony. Hot Gambler Man also states that we can either leave this place or join him to learn the actual truth. We reluctantly go with him and end up in the same room we stay in at the Reverie, except something is not so well here. What we have witnessed is now a second murder. Robin, the famous idol, laying in the pool with a purple slash on her chest. Before we learn any more of how this happened, we fade to Sunday's POV with another Robin? In this final cutscene of Penacony's 2.0 update, Sunday questions this Robin, only to find out she is none other than that masked fool, Sparkle. Mr. Sunday reveals the fact that he knows who this malefactor behind these murders is, and that the game will finally commence and that justice will be brought down. Warning, this chapter gets a bit crazy, and it might not make sense at first, but we will break it down and put a nice bow on it. Aventurine does some typical gambler mumbo jumbo stuff here that convolutes a lot of the story if you aren't paying attention at first. But let's get into the 2.1 story. Our hot gambler man, using Robin's death as an excuse, tempts the Trailblazer to collaborate and bring down the family. But before we make any hasty decisions, we of course need to meet up with our Astral Express crew. We are escorted out of the Memory Zone by Black Swan, and she gives us a mysterious card during our exodus. We start heading back to meet our nameless friends at the Clocky statue, but not before we see an awesome cutscene of Acheron and Sam dueling. When we meet up with, well, March 7th and Himiko, all of the information we have gathered is finally shared with the crew. We collectively decide to agree with Aventurine's collaboration, and he gives us 200,000 credits. We break off into two different groups. One group is going to go deduce more regarding Firefly's death for the family, and the second group has some things worth focusing on in the dreamscape, according to Welt. However, it seems that there's somebody waiting in the shadows to talk to Welt. Someone by the name of Acheron. A very tense discussion ensues, and Welt says the single best line in the history of Honkai Star Rail. Reveal your true identity and intentions, otherwise brace yourself for gravitational disintegration. It's so very awesome to see our Welt acting as our father figure for our nameless crew. We learn a little bit more about Acheron's past, and she asks us for our help investigating the family themselves. Meanwhile, Black Swan listens into the memory of Acheron and Duke Ifrit's final moments, but it turns out the voice in the memory can also hear Black Swan. The phone in Acheron's room ends up ringing, and they answer it together to see who it possibly could be. We switch back to Aventurine's POV at this point and see a mysterious IPC broadcast about Sigonia and a little child named Kakavasha. Let's remember that name for later. As Aventurine, we make our way through a lot of twists, statue puzzles, and Doctor, you're huge, to finally make it to Sunday. Here's where things are going to get real interesting for Aventurine in true gambling fashion. He wants to reclaim his items he brought to Penacony that are under the family's custody. But remember the phrase, 3 chips are enough, it's all or nothing. That'll make more sense in a bit. Mr. Sunday puts Aventurine under the spell of the Harmony and asks a series of questions regarding his Abjin blood and the location of his cornerstone. But what's this? It seems that Dr. Ratio has betrayed Aventurine! After this interrogation of sorts, it's revealed that Aventurine now only has 17 system hours to live, and he needs to go figure out more regarding the series of murders. For now, let's go back to the Trailblazer POV. We need to keep dissecting the 2 murders and learning the truth. Naturally, the person of interest we're looking for is Gallagher, and as a fun little side note, this is the first time that Himiko and March 7th get to see Clockwork in action, and they're both a little worried about its power. After we meet up with Gallagher, he agrees to discuss some of the case details with us in a more secure location, but before that we switch back to Black Swan in that phone call. She's on the phone with a very mysterious cyborgy cowboyish voice that mistakes Black Swan for Acheron, but then realizes she could be a potential ally. After the phone call, we zoom back to Aventurine's POV where we learn a crucial fact of the story. Dr. Ratio's betrayal in Sunday's chambers was actually a part of Aventurine's plan, and it's a little convoluted, but we will break everything down before the final battle of this chapter. Dr. Ratio gives Aventurine a bottle with a note in it that we will see later. Aventurine then continues his plan of going to Golden Hour and distributing the IPC's wealth with his bag that he has retrieved. This is all an act to bait out the masked fool Sparkle. The more pathetic I seem, the more likely you'll come around. Sparkle confirms that there are 2 mutes, one is dead and the other is still in Penacony, but you'll never meet him. Think of the term mute in this case as someone who knows the truth but who cannot speak yet. Basically, from this little conversation, Aventurine gathers that he is getting closer to the truth that he so longs for. Sparkle offers him a mutually assured destruction button in the Name of Elation, but Aventurine declines and says he will take care of it for the sake of IPC reclaiming Penacony. We see another scene of Aventurine's past after this time while he is an Abjin slave. Aventurine is trying to make a gamble that he will return alive from this death game that sprawled before him, all to the rejected tune of 30 Tanba, which are like copper coins in the Honkai world. Now let's get some answers from the Trailblazer POV once more, starting with Gallagher telling us if you really want to delve deeper into this case, you need to understand the true problem with the family. He also alerts us to the fact that Mikhail, one of the nameless of old, is the watchmaker. As a group, we move to the Clock Studios theme park to continue the conversation, where we learn that the family was accusing the watchmaker Mikhail of betraying the family, while Gallagher and his friends failed to absolve him. We also learn about that initial war of Penacony that involved the nameless of old, followed by another POV switch, this time to Acheron and Welt inside of Sunday's Hall, and the two take their time investigating classified documents regarding all of the death shenanigans that have happened inside of Penacony. We Through this, we learn of even more turmoil in the family, between the Charmony Festival and the resurgence of something unto death. We of course know about the traitor in the family, and Sunday shows up and is very suspicious of us being in the room at first. Welt alleviates the situation and presses Sunday to see why they are so adamant that the traitor of the family is within the family. Mr. Sunday is very dodgy about this question and pushes the blame back towards Aventurine. So let's go ahead and switch back to his POV. Let's go ahead and call this the final act of 2.2 because we are nearing the end. We get to see our next banner character, Mommy Jade, and Aventurine uses his life as a betting chip that he can bring wealth to the IPC with just 30 Tanba. Indeed, this little flashback was how he got accepted into the Intra-Astral Peace Corporation. Back to the present, we see Aventurine starting to go a little stir crazy while setting up his grand finale. He sees both a mirror image of himself poking and prodding at his inner thoughts, as well as a younger Avgin kid looking for his mom and dad. After some navigating through mazes and such, we finally get the aha moment of the entire chapter. The climax, the revelation of everything Aventurine has done. We end up finding the Topaz Cornerstone, the one that was in Sunday's possession. We also find what was originally thought to be Aventurine's gem, but there's a grand reveal. This gem was in fact not an Aventurine, but a jade. Aventurine wanted to distract Sunday and fool him so he didn't give up his third stone, the real Aventurine gem. We learn that Aventurine substituted this jade for his own in that bag with Dr. Ratio scene. The real Aventurine gem is smashed and cut up amongst his gems in his bag, much to the IPC and Preservation's dismay. But hold on, wait a second, Mogul. Why did Topaz, Jade, and Aventurine do this? The three cornerstones of the three IPC elites bet their everything just for a measly Penacony? But remember two things at this point. The IPC originally owned Penacony as that prison, and the cornerstones are more important to the owners than life itself. Aventurine said it best himself. 3 chips are sufficient. It's all or nothing. He went forth with numerous gambles to bring down this great dream of the family, all according to his plan. If that seems a bit convoluted, let's go ahead and break it down before we get to the final bit of 2.1. Sunday originally confiscated the Topaz Stone, thinking it was Aventurine's. This was most likely done in protection of the Dreamscape, which is why Aventurine was so hell-bent on his motive to bring the truth to light. But Sunday is very studious and very careful with all of his moves. He also figured out that Aventurine would probably not give up his cornerstones so easily, so he needed to be fooled somehow. Enter Dr. Veritas Ratio, who seemingly betrayed Aventurine by showing Sunday where the second cornerstone was. While we now know that it was the Jade Cornerstone, Sunday had no idea. He could not tell the difference between the Jade Cornerstone and the Aventurine Cornerstone. Once Sunday gave the bag back to Aventurine in that cutscene, he was officially played. The actual Aventurine stone was crushed inside of that bag, amongst a bunch of other little gems that Aventurine was carrying. This series of gambles is the reference which is known as the 3 chips and the all or nothing motif. Feel free to let me know in the comments if you have any questions regarding any of that. But let's go ahead and return to Aventurine's finale, his ultimate goal of bringing down this fake dream of Penacony and revealing the truth. After a bit of dialogue, we learn a few more things. It turns out that Acheron is not a member of the Galaxy Rangers following the hunt. She's actually an emanator of nihility. Aventurine's grand finale show is about to begin, but he just needs the actors, namely himself and the Astral Express crew, with the newly semi-allied Acheron. Aventurine, using the power of his crushed cornerstone, transforms. After a hard-fought battle, his wish is finally fulfilled. Acheron unleashes her emanator power, slicing through Aventurine's super money raindrop attack and cutting through the Dreamscape. Aventurine has met his final end. In a sea of emptiness, a black void. Acheron meets Aventurine in this place for the final dialogue we will see from the hot gambler man. A few things are confirmed here. The fact that Acheron follows the path of nihility, and that Aventurine wants to learn the true other side of the dream, to learn the secrets of the deep, watery abyss. And as the player, we will learn way more about that in the 2.2 story in just a bit. So here was Aventurine's final gamble. Acheron will wield her blade to send me to this abyss, the real Dreamscape, to reveal the truth. Not only this, but I, Aventurine, will return from this endless abyss. We already know that this has been done once before in Sparkle's aforementioned mute. Indeed, this mute does know the truth about the dreamscape, but cannot reveal it. The last thing we see Aventurine do is read the doctor's advice that was in that bottle. The impossible in the dreamscape is not death, but rather dormancy. Do stay alive. I wish you the best of luck. Again, this will be more prevalent in 2.2. The only thing that remains is 2 more cutscenes to attend to before we wrap up this massive chapter. First is the biggest reveal of 2.2. The Trailblazer wakes up in front of a huge mech that we fought earlier, Sam. We get this amazing cutscene proving that Sam is actually Firefly and that she is very much not dead. The last cutscene is when Gallagher meets up with Sunday for the last reveal. Mr. Sunday has figured out something massive. Gallagher is related to the Memory Zone meme, Something Unto Death. After accusing Gallagher of the quote-unquote 2 murders, we witness one more crucial murder. Mr. Sunday is taken care of and impaled by the meme, and thus ends the amazing 2.1 story. Whew. Okay, that was sure a lot, wasn't it? I promise in this chapter, there isn't so much trickery, gambly, whodunit mumbo jumbo. But hey, weren't we promised a luxurious vacation? Whatever happened to that? Anyway, 2.2 starts off with a new face on Penacony. Well, more so starting on the Astral Express. As the countdown to the Charmony Festival commences, we learn that Boothill was the voice on the phone, and he's currently hijacking the train. Although he sure claims that he is not. Dan Heng and Pom Pom do not think that Boothill is actually a Galaxy Ranger of the Hunt like he states. Alternatively, Boothill doesn't think these two are the real Nameless of the Astral Express. Looks like we got a real fork and standoff here. Until Dan Heng shows off the Jade Abacus given to us back on the Xianzhou Lufu. Remember, this is a device given to us by General Jin Yuan as a token of alliance with the Cloud Knights of the Xianzhou. It can also be used to call these Cloud Knights in the time of need. Boothill states that the Galaxy Rangers are after an imposter who is actually an emanator of nihility. Who do we think that is? That's right, it's Acheron. But here's the weird part. IX, who is the Eon of nihility, casting gaze on anyone is thought to be impossible, but nonetheless it does seem to be the case. Boothill also asks the Nameless to help him board Penacony, and we switch over to Acheron's POV. We see her being rather ambushed by controlled members of the family by the Dream Master. Acheron and the Dream Master trade threats, and to be honest, I would definitely not be messing with Mommy Nihility. Acheron gets the final word here before she takes her leave, and states that the future holds nothing but nihility, just like all of the worlds that have drowned in their shadow. We then switch to Sparkle's POV, even though she's acting as Robin, handing out mutually assured destruction buttons. After that brief intermission, it's finally time to start getting some answers, and we switch back to the Trailblazer POV. We are still with the totally not dead Firefly, and she clues us into the workings of the Stellaron Hunters. Of course, as in common with the Stellaron Hunters, they have to follow Elio's script. She finally explains that when the meme impaled her, it actually brought her to a primal dreamscape, the land of the exiles. We get a cute little cutscene of Blade driving? Why does that seem like a bad idea? But through this conversation, we learn that the Memory Zone meme is actually the guardian of the land of exiles. Firefly brings us there, and we end up meeting with Welt in a place called the Dreamflux Reef. We also meet up with Misha and Clocky, and for some reason Welt is able to see him. Robin is also somewhere here in this dreamscape, and we still have to meet up with Gallagher for more info regarding his connection to the meme. With Misha's help, we search for our lost companions and end up finding March 7th Himiko and then Robin. The famous singer is extremely disappointed with how her home is the complete opposite of what the family and the harmony are supposed to represent. We get a quick little cute flashback cutscene with young Robin and young Sunday deciding how to care for an injured little bird. Remember this for later. Mr. Sunday wakes up in front of Gallagher and he is not pleased. It seems that Gallagher wants to actually team up with Sunday, but our Holovian friend is demanding to see Robin first before he makes any sort of judgment. Now that this big group of characters has amassed, it's time that we get some answers from Gallagher himself. What is happening? Gallagher says this important line right here. Before we begin, let me reintroduce myself. I'm the founder of Dreamflux Reef, the deputy of the Watchmaker, and the one who sent out the invitations. And here's the big reveal. Why did Gallagher set up this battle for the Watchmaker legacy and make such a big fuss in Penacony? The answer is in fact, the Stellaron. In fact, someone is manipulating the Stellaron to create these lands, this insane dreamscape. Through some more conversation, we learned that in Asdana, the planet of festivities itself is the Stellaron disaster. He describes the War of Penacony in more detail here, and the death of another former nameless that Pom Pom mentioned, Tiernan. At the end of this confusion and turmoil, once the family gained control of Penacony, Gallagher used the power of the Enigmata to create the meme. The meme's real name? Dormancy. We exploited a loophole. You see, regular people can't fall asleep again while they're inside the dreamscape. Okay, so where is the Stellaron now? Mr. Sunday reveals that it's the Penacony Grand Theater itself. The person who employed and manipulated its power? Mr. Gopher Wood, the current Dream Master. Sunday agrees to join our newly found crusade as he wants to have another audience with the elusive Dream Master to try and resolve this scenario. Likewise, in true trailblazing fashion, we need to seal that Stellaron, so we need to make some preparations as the Astral Express crew. Walt comes up with a contingency plan with an actual microtransmitter that Aventurine gave us in the previous chapter, and in case those negotiations with the Dream Master go south, we will literally call the IPC themselves. Gallagher also reveals another major thing here. The Watchmaker did in fact leave a legacy, but one that was only for the future Trailblazers. Now is the time to reveal it. Back in Dreamflux Reef by the tombstones of the former Nameless where the group originally gathered, we go up this long flight of stairs and meet the last Nameless of Penacony, Mikhail Char Legwork, the Watchmaker. Of course, he's long gone, but he's holding a dream bubble when we arrive. Sadly, we are unable to see the contents. How can this be? Luckily, Himeko, in her unwavering faith of the Nameless, has an idea to return to Golden Hour to check something out regarding this. She enlists the help of Dormancy to set her plan in motion, and we switch back to Boothill's POV. We see him and Dan Heng trying to check in as more of the Nameless. Boothill gets a little angry after he says this amazing line.
Me? I'm Pom Pom, a new Nameless who's also with the Astral Express.
Sadly, they are unfortunately repeatedly denied, but Boothill has many backup plans. Turns out on that phone call with Black Swan, he invented a secret signal, ordering a certain strong-tasting drink in the VIP lounge. He also has a secondary backup plan, but it turns out just to be a big ol' hostage situation if it ever comes to that, so... Luckily it doesn't come to this because we receive Black Swan's signal and head back to the Astral Express. Back on the train, Black Swan arrives with a person that Boothill is not fond of. Yep, she brought Acheron, that dirty shirtbag. Boothill threatens her, but she alleviates the situation and states that the Nameless are in a great deal of danger. Acheron suggests that we need immediate help, which will require a jump from the Astral Express out of the Asdana system. Before we do that, we need to go back to Robin's POV and set up the meeting with the Dream Master. We see a few important things through cutscenes and a little bit of gameplay. We see Sunday in a confession chamber resolving 3 different scenarios for anybody who comes in. These will be more important towards the end of our 2.2 story. Sparkle is also there and ends up giving Sunday and Robin a mutually assured destruction button as well to use if the Charmony Festival is not put on hold and these plans go south. After this, it's time for them to meet the Dream Master, but too bad, we gotta go back to the Trailblazer POV first. March 7th, Himeko, Trailblazer, and Firefly are ready to set out for the Grand Penacony Theater. Sadly, it's closed to the public, but March saves the day. She proposes a strategy to win a competition so we're guaranteed an audience there. Skipping ahead past this gameplay section full of different talent and acting challenges, as well as an Argenti fight, we finally make it to the theater. What we see waiting for us is not what we are expecting. Sunday is there all by himself and states this. As previously promised, my sister, Mr. Yang, and I have met with the Dream Master. We delved into the truth about Penacony and its Stellaron and have come to a consensus. Both I I and the Oak family cannot acquiesce to your request. Well, 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 what a surprise. Sunday thinks Penacony should change, but doesn't want to seal the big bad Stellaron. He also decides to get a little philosophical in a few what would you do scenarios, as well as the flashback we needed of their actual meeting with the Dream Master. Long story short here, Welt asks a question to the Dream Master, revealing that he's a bit too close to the hidden truth of this family of harmony. The gods you both mentioned, are they truly Shipe? Welt also explains his thinking and observations here. There was once an Eon who crafted the laws of the cosmos, but once they fell, the root clashed with the actual path of harmony. Though an Eon may perish, paths with no masters still linger. The Dream Master does not like this and orders Sunday to give an opportunity to rest to both Welt and Robin. We then see one of the biggest reveals of the chapter when Sunday says, "And through harmony we obtain order." It appears that Welt was very right with his suspicion, but let's get back to the present with the Astral Express in front of Sunday. Mr. Sunday wants to have some sort of negotiation with us after he imprisoned Welt and Robin in his mind. He thinks he can convince us we can come to a mutual understanding. Yeah, Himiko is not having any of that nonsense. Sunday also brings us into his mind through a process called tuning. From this point on, you will witness the numerous decisions I've faced. I've selected a portion of these to share with you. We retrace Sunday's footsteps through those 3 scenarios we mentioned earlier and make decisions based on what we would have done in his stead. We also get a little bit of a tangent submission here. Remember that trip that Himiko took with Dormancy to the Golden Hour? Well, it turns out that she's actually a genius. I mean, not in the literal sense like our good boy Screwlum. Also, why the heck is he not a playable character yet? Either way, it turns out that the dream bubble that he was holding is Misha's memories. Inside the dream bubble, after a bit of running around with Misha, he's fully able to remember everything and reintroduces himself, this time as Mikhail Char Legwork, or simply Misha. Or of course, you know, the Watchmaker. Well, maybe not so much, as he's just a reflection of the deceased Watchmaker's life. Basically, because of the Memoria, Misha is a mimetic entity based off of Mikhail Char Legwork's childhood dreams. Let's clear this up a little bit. We directly live out and discuss everything with the Watchmaker himself. At the end of some exposition, he states he's going to give us his pocket watch and his hat. Oh yeah, you know what that means. We then relive the Watchmaker's life through a series of generated cutscenes as he progressively gets older. Finally, it seems we're getting the answers we need to reach some conclusions. Who and what is the Watchmaker? What is Penacony? Who is Misha? A lot has been answered so far, but now it's time to commence the finale of this act, the showdown with Sunday. He is of course deeply committed to genuinely and fairly proving that the Order is right after all, so he plans on fighting us at the Charmony Festival in the Grand Theater. The determination of the Trailblaze versus the dream of order will happen after we get a little bit more exposition and the what are the others doing moments. We get a couple more scenes of both Gallagher's story and Acheron's story, giving us that world building and lore for the character themselves. Acheron states how she will cut off Nihility, considering how to even personally kill IX. Gallagher monologues regarding Mikhail's end and his plan finally coming to fruition. Then I'll be joining you soon, you old fool. Back to Black Swan, Acheron, Boothill, and Dan Heng on the Astral Express. Acheron is still wanting to jump out of Asdana, but Dan Heng has another plan. Are you thinking of using the Jade Abacus of a Lying Oath? Dan Heng replies, I have considered it thoroughly. My companions are... they're also once-in-a-lifetime treasures. Now let's get to the ending, shall we? Having finished that tuning scene from Sunday, Miss Himiko, March 7th, and Trailblazer inside the Grand Theater have accepted Sunday's invitation to a duel. Through 3 acts of performance in this theater, we slowly live out the history of Penacony in Sunday's narration. This gameplay portion has a lot of new names, ideas, and such regarding the actual liberation of the prison, followed by the families rise to power. We quickly make work of a battle versus the past, present, and future, and now it's finally game time. Enter Mr. Sunday, pulling the powerful strings of the harmony. In transformation as harmonious choir, the Great Septimus. After we're struggling through this battle, we're apparently not doing so hot, until someone comes to save the day. Radiant Spirit, heed my word. Show no mercy. The dust settles on this epic battle. Asdana and the entire universe have escaped the fate of becoming the Order's puppets. We learn of the epic clash of the Lightning Lord and Septimus, leading us to getting knocked out in the battle. With things winding down, let's go check in with our companions. After discussing things with Jin Yuen, Himiko, Welt, and March, we agree to go and chat with the IPC representatives in the lobby regarding Penacony and the Charmony Festival incident. Why hello there, Aventurine and Topaz. Topaz claims that the IPC will permanently relinquish its claim on Penacony's sovereignty and assist the family in its rebuild of the land. Dr. Ratio also states the same. The Intelligentsia Guild and the Genius Society will collaborate as well. It looks like everything is totally a-okay now, and nothing seems to be the matter. Back on the Astro Express, I guess we can just go choose our next destination. Lushaka, an ocean planet, Melustanen, where Idrila the Beauteous ended, or Edostar, where the Antimatter Legion is currently assaulting. Go ahead and choose your destination. Enjoy the last few bits of the chapter. Congratulations, you saved Penacony. The credits roll. May this journey lead us starward. Hold it! You really thought it was that easy. Let's cut to a little bedtime story from Black Swan. Remember that big grandiose battle with Sunday? Well, it turns out you came down with the terrible illness called skill issue and totally lost. Yep. You canonically lose the battle against Sunday, the Great Septimus. Black Swan tells us the fact that there is a major flaw in the Penacony story we have experienced all the way from 2.0 to now. If we can find that flaw, we might still be able to save ourselves. Black Swan uses that card that turned out to be a light cone she gave us all the way back in 2.0 to help us relive our memories. Upon a recap of the entire story so far, we can finally see that Misha is the flaw in the story. Remember that Misha is a mementic entity. A life born in the memory zone could never manifest in reality. So why did he appear in the Reverie Hotel in reality? Simply put, there was no way Misha can appear in reality. This also means one thing. We are still trapped in the dreamscape at this very moment. Here's the mission description for the actual final act of the chapter. It recaps everything that Black Swan talked about in that little cutscene. So far, the only ones who have awakened from Enna the Order's dream are Acheron, Black Swan, Boothill, Trailblazer, Dan Heng, and Robin. But there's quite a problem on our hands. We need a significant amount of people to create discord and erase Enna's dream. There's currently only the one massive dream being shared in the dreamscape, so we need outside help to start waking people up. Boothill eventually chimes in, leave it to the Galaxy Rangers, and brings out a purple flare. Once this plan to awaken everyone is set in motion, we discuss with Acheron that we cannot fail in our rematch with Sunday. Everyone will play a crucial role in getting this job done, but we did forget about one piece of Acheron's lore, didn't we? We cut back to Acheron discussing something with that old man figure again. We now have the utmost confirmation of Tiernan being this last nameless that we were supposed to find with Pom-Pom's instruction. Acheron's final words to Tiernan, may death be the end of your boundless dream, guiding you back to the waking world. Back to the present, Acheron escorts the Trailblazer through this horizon of existence. She asks us the same questions when we first met her back in the start of 2.0. This time we have no hesitation with the right answer. Might I ask if you fear severing those bonds with your own hands? I feel no fear. I would ask, would you wish to stay? I would never ever want to live in a dream. I would ask, would you still embark on this journey? I would blaze a trail without hesitation. It's finally come full circle here on our story. We finally get to learn of Acheron's real name. Another major reveal of the Penacony story. Raiden, Bosenmori, Mei. Surprise, we're back, Septimus. Time for round 2. Except this time, we have our hat. During this final epic battle, you get to hit him with a stinking train! And the entire Astral Express crew chimes in with amazing voice lines. Witness the will of the weak! So yeah, this battle is amazing. If you haven't experienced it, it's truly a fantastic finale. We are rewarded with the final cutscenes of 2.2.
Why does life slumber? Because someday we will wake from our dreams.
This marks the end of Penacony 2.2 and pretty much all of the lore of Penacony. The last cutscene is a phone call between Jade and Aventurine. Apparently the Emanator at the IPC, Diamond, is not happy with losing the Aventurine cornerstone and demands an audience. Jade claims the seeds her and Topaz have planted will begin to grow soon and that she's on her way to Penacony to reap the rewards. The phone call is cut short as Boothill storms in, guns blazing, demanding the location of Oswaldo Schneider. For the 2.3 Trailblaze mission, there's not a lot of new lore things, it's just kind of a nice little bow to wrap everything up. After you wake up from End of the Order's dream, it's time to gather on a new area called the Radiant Feldspar. By the way, this is your last chance for a spoiler warning. I know this is still fairly recent that this patch came out, but we will be finishing the story here right now. On this luxurious cruise ship, the Radiant Feldspar, there's going to be an important meeting regarding the future of Penacony and a lot of negotiation talks. The main point of the first part of 2.3 is basically that Firefly wants to add new footnotes to her destiny. She wants to live! And don't forget that the script said she was gonna die 3 times in the Land of Dreams. Once we switch back to Topaz's POV, we look through this luxurious ship and just kinda check things out. We end up meeting with the 2.3 second banner character, Miss Mommy Jade. Together with Jade, we sit down in the first round of talks with Old Odie, the person who came to power once Sunday fell. Switching back to Trailblazer POV and the Nameless crew, we share a few drinks with Shioban and prepare to board the Radiant Feldspar. We have to say goodbye to those that lost their lives, while also celebrating the promise of new life. Shioban gives us one final drink and says if we run into Gallagher, make sure he has a sip too. Also, high-key, wouldn't it be super cool if Shioban was a playable 4-star character? I'm really hoping. Now to the bulk of the chapter, the more important stuff. The meeting with Old Odie surprised both Topaz and Jade because Odie wants to go public with the listing of the Penacony conglomerate. As the IPC, they do not like this and they don't want it even one little bit. Odie threw a lot of threats their way during the first half of negotiations, and now it's time for the IPC to return the favor for the second part. Now it's Jade's turn to do the threatening. She basically tells Odie that if you dare try something like that, the IPC will bury you. You do not understand the power of the IPC's wealth, and you will not succeed. We'll see how this plays out in a second, but Jade also has a little bit of a side hustle after these negotiations. As Lady Bana Jade, she runs a pawn shop of sorts. We switch back to Firefly's POV for this, because remember that she wants to live. She wants to survive this Penacony affair. Well, it turns out that Lady Bana Jade's pawn shop can grant these huge, amazing wishes, but at a dire cost. Firefly goes around learning what the act of pawning truly means to Lady Bana Jade, and it turns out that they can't make a deal for Firefly to live. Pretty much because Jade wants something pretty massive from the Stellaron Hunters. Back in the Trailblazer POV, we kinda just goofed off for a while on top of the Radiant Feldspar and nothing really happened. And we can actually see these cute little scenes as Firefly running around the ship. Basically, the Charmony Festival got moved to the Radiant Feldspar after the whole fiasco, and we're just kinda waiting as the Trailblazer. While we're waiting and talking with some others, we see Firefly. There's some complex feelings that she wants to share, but then something massive happens. Once the Charmony Festival starts, Robin gives us the entire Radiant Feldspar. Hey, I am not complaining if I get a luxurious, amazing ship every time I save a world. Sounds like Branya needs to step up her game. Anyway, while we're kinda living the celebrity life and girl bossing it all over the place, we get a bunch of shoutouts from Robin, a big ol' ship, and then Sparkle shows up. In the Name of Elation, I guess she's put 1,000 neutron bombs on the ship. Lovely. Anyway, everybody in the Penacony story is on this Radiant Feldspar, and they help us find 999 of these bombs. We eventually find the 1000th one, and Firefly says, "This is my third death." Yep, she's gonna go save the entire world of Penacony by taking this bomb far, far away and blowing herself up with it. I guess we have to say goodbye to Firefly forever. Once Firefly takes off, Sparkle hits us with a hammer off of our ship, and it turns out they weren't actually even bombs at all. Those masked fools are a bunch of rats because it was just a Sparkle fireworks show. Anyway, I guess the crisis was averted and we share a really cool ending cutscene with Firefly, a really cool moment. And now there's only really one thing left to do in Penacony, and that's say goodbye to those that we've lost. With our drink in hand from Shioban, we say goodbye to Tiernan and Rosalina, Gallagher, and Mikhail. As a heads up, there is something that you can miss here if you don't go talk to Acheron before you go back to the Astral Express. I'll put it up here in the background while we're talking about this little section, but basically it's kind of a bye, I'll see you later. We both still have our own paths to walk, and if we meet again, let's hope it's beneath clear skies. Here's the final picture you get to see of Raiden May, and now let's go talk to the rest of the Astral Express crew. March 7th is feeling really down, and they all share a really cool, touching moment to bring the story to an end. Just really talking about will we be remembered, life, death, mortality, all that kind of stuff. After this really deep conversation, it's time to pick our next destination on the Astral Express. When I was playing through this final 5 minutes or so, I was actually pretty sad because Welt said we only had enough fuel for like 2 more warp jumps. Luckily, Black Swan just kind of invited herself to the train again, and she actually had a pretty good idea to go somewhere where Acheron hasn't. She claims that if we lay down new Silver Rail in uncharted territories, we shouldn't have to worry about fuel. After some tense deliberation, it seems that our next stop is the Eternal Land Emphorius, where Acheron the Trailblaze has never even reached. So our journey will never end. Yeah, I probably said that name wrong, but this will most likely be our next stop after we revisit the Xianzhou Lufu. And that is officially it for everything that has happened on Penacony. Our trailblazing adventure in the Land of the Exiles has finally come to an end. Based on all the drip marketing and everything we've received, we know that the 2.4 story will be returning to the Lufu. It looks like we've got a bunch of really cool characters coming up for this next little chapter, including a brand new path for March 7th. I think it is safe to say whenever we take another warp jump, we'll probably go to that planet that Black Swan mentioned. And I can't wait to see what Hoyoverse cooks up if we do go there. Although I have no idea how they're gonna top this Penacony story. It has just been so phenomenal. It really has been so entertaining and fun, and I'm really gonna miss it actually. But the spirit of the Trailblaze will never stop, and may this journey lead us starward. I hope you guys enjoyed this Penacony story video, exploring all of the lore, recapping all of the events that really made this trailblazing journey special. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below about Penacony. Did I miss anything? And what are you looking forward to in Honkai Star Rail in the upcoming patches? Make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it or found it entertaining and informative. This has been by far my biggest video project I've ever done, and I can't wait to discuss more with all of you guys. Subscribe to the channel for more Honkai Star Rail, Zenless Zone Zero, and other Gacha content, and I will see you in the next video. And that's it. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.